Hey everyone, welcome to ZeroFox 3D. My name's Chris. Sorry about the noise in here, it's always noisy because of these things. But today I've got something new to show you. Now, all of this didn't exist 2 months ago. It only exists because an awful lot of you bought this. This is Bender. Bender, you might recognise. It's my 3D printed case for the HeltecV3, which is a Meshtastic powered radio node. What's Meshtastic? It's an off-grid, decentralized, encrypted communication network. Yeah, what's that? I'll put a link in the description to another video by Lewis at Ringway Manchester. He does a much better job of explaining what it is than me. But Bender was never designed to leave my desk. It was just a way for me to conveniently play with Meshtastic and just look up at me, if you like. It wasn't designed to go outside. It wasn't designed to be carried. And it was always my intention to make another case, a case that was small, a case that had good battery life, and that you could just carry around with you all day. But the question is, how small could you make it? Well, the answer is you can make it so small it actually fits in your hand and no one would really notice. This is Nibbler Pocket. Nibbler Pocket has an internal antenna that helps make it so small. Also has a 2000 milliamp flat LiPo cell that is good for around 20 hours of battery life. This isn't the only version of Nibbler though. There's actually another one. And again, I've been sneakily hiding it on me. And this is Nibbler Plus. And Nibbler Plus, as you can see, has a full-sized SMA connector, so you can stick as big an aerial as you like on it. Also has an optional belt clip, same 2000 milliamp battery, same battery life. And what I'm going to do now is I'll sit down, I'll show you more of its features, how it's constructed, how it's put together, and how you can get hold of one. So, before we go over exactly how you assemble both Nibbler Pocket and Nibbler Plus, I thought we'd just go over kind of the basic construction of it and some of its features. So, the main components break down to the front cover, the main body itself, the niblet, which goes on the end and has a variety of functions that I'll explain in a minute. It was named Niblet by Mr. Andy Kirby, I will also point out. We have a back cover, which is used on Nibbler Plus and used on Nibbler Pocket when you don't have the optional belt clip. We have the battery, which is an EEMB LP103454. Really rolls off the tongue, but this is widely available. I'll provide links to Amazon UK and Amazon US. It's under £10, $10, so it's pretty cheap. Then we have the vertical belt clip, which is used with Nibbler Plus. We have the horizontal belt clip with integrated back cover, which is used with Nibbler Pocket. This is the antenna for Nibbler Pocket, which is a Quectel YF0022. It's a wide spectrum antenna, covers both frequency bands used in the US and Europe, so 915 and 868. We then have two sets of stainless steel hex bolts. The 10mm are used with Nibbler Pocket, the 12mm are used with Nibbler Plus. The good old SMA hex nut tool, that's carry over from Bender, the SMA connector itself, which is comes with Nibbler Plus, and then we have this key component. This is an adapter cable that adapts the tiny connector on the Heltec for use with the larger connector on these common larger batteries. Now the issue is, this is not available anywhere. No one makes this, not that I've been able to find, so I had to have it mass produced. And when I say mass produced, I mean mass produced. I've had loads of them made. So that's basically all. Oh, of course, we've forgotten. the lanyard, which is optional as well, which is available with it. So that's all of the components. I'll now go over kind of the basic construction and some of the clever little features of it. And of course I forgot again the most important component. You get an Allen key. I didn't want our friends in America having to go fumbling around looking for a 2.5mm hex key when you guys are all caught Imperial. So there you go, that comes with it as well. So the key concept of how Nibbler is constructed is it locks together. Bender being a desktop node, it was never really going to get dropped. So it didn't have to survive being dropped, whereas Nibbler is going to go out into the world, and things get dropped out in the world, and you don't want to drop your Nibbler and have the front cover pop off and the back cover pop off and the battery go flying and your Heltec go flying. So that is one of the key concepts, and how it basically works is it's all down to these two hex bolts. They essentially lock both the front cover and the back cover in place. So the back cover slides into position. It's basically dovetailed, so it slides in. The front cover clips on, a bit like in a similar way to Bender. So you put the top in first, get that in position, and then that just pops on. Now the key thing is that the front cover, unlike Bender, has these two prongs, and these two prongs have holes in. And what basically happens is, when you attach that front cover, those prongs line up with the holes in the niblet. So when you put your niblet on and you drive your hex bolts through, they attach the niblet to the body, but then the hex bolts go through captive stainless steel square nuts inside the body, which you can just see, if it focuses, on the inside there. See those shiny nuts? And those hex bolts pass through those shiny nuts, out the plastic, and into the plastic of the front cover, into those two prongs that stick out, those two holes. So they essentially stop it from coming apart, and the nibbler also, the nibbler overlaps the back cover. So once this nibbler is attached with these hex bolts, that front cover is not coming off and the back cover is not sliding out. So that's kind of the key concept of its construction. Right, assembly. So these are all of the possible components with a Nibbler Pocket. Assembly is simple, but it is fiddly, simply because you are packing a lot into a very small space. So have some patience is what I would say. So first off, it's a little bit backwards in a way, I suppose, because first step is drop it, and then battery. Now, the battery actually goes in with the label face down with the wire to the top right-hand corner. And it simply sits in and goes to the flush against this end. And then this cable, you might be able to see, tucks over the top of a little pillar. It generally, I'll show you use the old spudger to spudge it in. And if you look carefully, if it focuses, I might not be able to get it to focus. Can I get it to focus? Yeah. It tucks in just over the top of this small pillar in here. You might not be able to see it in video, but you'll see it when you try. You then want either your back cover or the optional clip if you've purchased that, and then that just slides in over the top of the battery. You'll push that cable through, I should have said, like so. And same is true with the back clip. That also slides in over the top. So the next step is connect your adapter cable for the battery. and then you want to tuck this connector into the space at the end of the battery, leaving the cable sticking up for the Heltec. Next, you want to get your Heltec and connect your antenna, and we love an IPEX connector, don't we? Fiddly little things. I like to just line it up and then put some downward pressure on it with something a bit hard like a hex connector, and that pops on nice and easily. Now we can connect the battery connector to the Heltec. I've got to remember which way around this goes. Always do this with the antenna connected first, it should be noted. That just pushes in, and now it will power up. Alignment of getting the Heltec in is very similar to Bender. You put the USB in first. It will basically almost slot into the hole, and then this end will just slot down in. You can see it took no pressure whatsoever to get it in. Right, now we have to get our antenna into position. Now I think it has a sticky pad. Now you can peel this off. I'm not going to for this demonstration, but the antenna basically just slides in to this top area, and then you basically just have to tuck your cable. And again, this is the fiddly part, I think. You want to tuck your cable down into this recess in here. Again, fiddly, but it is doable. Like so. That should do it. Next off, you want to get your front cover, and it's simply a case of you want to put the top edge in first, get that top edge aligned and popped in. So you'll see, so you end up with top edge in, bottom edge out, top edge in, bottom edge out, and then all you've got to do is apply a bit of pressure on that bottom edge and it'll pop in. So that's the main body assembled. Now it's just a case of adding our niblet, and what I generally find is it's a good idea to use the hex bolts to kind of cut the thread into the plastic first, so you can wind them a little with your fingers, and then get your Allen key and just wind them in, and that just cuts that initial bit of plastic. It makes it a little bit easier to insert them. Now you want to take your niblet, get your hexes just finger wound into there, it says, and then you just line them up and screw in. And you will drop the Allen key, it's inevitable. Now don't tighten them all the way fully just yet. I generally get them 90% of the way in on both sides. You'll feel them bite a little bit into the captive nuts, because they have to find the thread. Once you get past that, they then go in quite smoothly. See, I told you several times, it's inevitable. And then wind them in until they're basically flush with the surface of the niblet. They'll just go a little bit past flush, like so. And that there is your completed Nibbler Pocket. Right, the assembly of Nibbler Plus is very similar to Nibbler Pocket. It differs really only in the niblet itself, because the niblet contains the SMA connector, and that is probably where I would suggest starting with the assembly. So you take your niblet, take your SMA connector, put the SMA connector into the niblet. It can sometimes need a little push to get it fully seated in. Then you want to take your Nuts or washers. You want the spring washer first, then the serrated washer, followed by the nut. And you wind that down with the included hex tool. Give it a little tighten. This is the new and improved hex tool, which is much smaller, uses much less plastic, and does not break as often. Right, and now it's a question of, did you buy the optional vertical clip? If you didn't buy the vertical clip, there is this little part here called the Nibbler filler, I call it, and that basically slides over here and fills the gap basically where the clip would normally go. Now I will show it being assembled with the clip. So what we want to do is, instead of that, we take the clip and that pops into here. Now you want to push it in and you want to make sure it is completely flush with this surface of the niblet. If it isn't flush, take it out and, well, I told you tolerances are tight. Take it out and just check this surface of the niblet inside, because there can sometimes be a little bit of support material stuck here that you might have to scrape off. If I've missed it, sorry. But this one was fine, so this one just goes on fine. It's nice and flush with that surface. And let's see. Next then, we want to, well, it's like the Nibbler Pocket, we want to be doing our battery next. So to install the battery, it is label side downwards, flush into the left side, and then again the cable tucks over the top of this little pillar here at the top, in this top corner. You then want to push the cable through. You then want to get your back cover, slide your back cover into position, and then turn over. At this point, I generally always connect the adapt cable, which I always need to get the right way around, like so, and then tuck the connector into the end where you have a little bit of space at the end of the battery, like so. The next step is a little fiddly, I'm not going to lie to you, because we need to add our SMA connector. Now, passing this through, what you want to do is you want to loop it over like so, so that the IPEX connector comes back out of the front, because we're going to be connecting that to the HeltecV in a second. Now, what the best thing is to then do is to get your hex bolts and wind them partly in. And we won't go all the way, we'll just go enough to hold the niblet in position. So the hex bolts are just in enough to hold the niblet to the body. They've not gone all the way through. You can see they've not come out the other side of the captive nuts yet, because we don't want them to come out. Now it's a case of, well, we need to add an antenna, really, which I didn't have ready. So we screw our antenna on, because we don't want to be connecting the HeltecV without an antenna. Now it's a case of adding our, we need our IPEX connector connected. So fiddly as hell like normal. Can I do it with my fingers? Probably not. So get my little spudger and just clip it on. Made that look easy. And then you want to twist it round, and again it's battery connector. Come on, Chris, come on. Connect up the battery connector. And then it's just a case of seating the HeltecV, just like with Bender, USB end in first, with this end just slotting into position. You can check that it's all aligned by just looking at the USB connector and making sure that that's in the hole properly. And that's basically it. So now we want to take our front, and it is get the top in first, nice and lined up. Leave the bottom edge so that it's proud, it's not actually in yet. So you get your top edge in first, and then all you've got to do is just press down on that bottom edge and it'll pop in. And now we can tighten our hex screws all the way in. And you want to tighten them so they're just past flush with the surface of the nibbler. You'll feel them bite down, and there should be very, very little in the way of gap in between the nibbler and the body. It'll basically be flush. And that is your Nibbler Plus assembled. Finally, we have the optional lanyard, which basically has a small loop, and this basically passes through the hole here, comes out the back, and then you just pass your main body lanyard through, and we're attached. So that is Nibbler Pocket and Nibbler Plus. These will be available to purchase from my website zerofox3d.com. Should be by the time you're watching this video. They are £21.99 in the base configuration. If you want to add the clip and the lanyard, they're £2 each. They'll be available in weekly batches, with shipping starting from around the 1st of May. There will also be the 3D print files available tonight as well if you'd like to download it and print it yourself, and I will be making hardware kits available that include the hex bolts, the antenna for pocket, the SMA connector, and the battery adapter cable. So no, thanks for watching. If you got this far, well done. And thank you for all the support with Bender. It's been utterly humbling, and I'm looking forward to making cases for all the other devices going forwards. Thanks very much. Cheers.